Alright, so we are going to start on Unit 8, Lesson 2. It says Lesson 3 here, but it's actually Lesson 2. We're going to be talking about circles, and specifically their arcs and their chords. So let's start with a little bit of vocabulary. Now, a central angle is an angle whose vertex is the center of the circle. So for an example, we have APB. Okay, now P being your central angle. Now, AB is your minor arc. Your minor arc is less than 180 degrees. So AB is smaller than 180 degrees, and 180 degrees on a circle is half a circle because an entire circle is 360 degrees. So AB is your minor arc. Now, your major arc is greater or more than 180 degrees. So your major arc is going to be ACB because it's going to be larger than 180 degrees. And then last, a semicircle is half of a circle, and it's an arc that is 180 degrees. So your semicircle here is ABC. Okay? Now let's go ahead and let's look at example 1. Now example 1 says, use circle E to name the following. 2 minor arcs. Now let's look. Now 2 minor arcs are BC and AB. And BC here is less than 180 degrees. And then the last one we have is AB. And AB is also, it's less than 180 degrees. So those are 2 minor arcs. Now, 2 major arcs are 2 arcs that are more than 180 degrees. So we know that B, A, and D, okay, is half of a circle. That's our semicircle. And our other semicircle is B, C, D. So our major arc has to be more than that. So our major arc is B, A, D, C, or B, D, C. And then our other major arc is C, A, B. Okay? Now let's go down to the measure of a minor arc. Now the measure of its central angle. So if angle GHF is 60 degrees, then its corresponding angle is also 60 degrees. So arc GF is 60 degrees and angle GHF is 60 degrees. So example 2 says, find the measure of arcs. So let's go and find the measure of our arcs. So here it says, find the measure of arcs. So the first arc is MN, which is here, MN. Now remember, if our angle is 80 degrees, so angle MRN is 80 degrees, then our arc matches that. So arc MN is 80 degrees. And then the last arc it asks us, or the second arc it asks us to find is arc MPN. Now notice, M, P, and N is larger than 180 degrees. And this arc here, MN, is 80 degrees. And then MPN is the rest of our angle, or the rest of our circle. Now our entire circle is 360 degrees. So we're going to take 360 degrees and we're going to subtract it by 80 degrees. And we get 280 degrees. So M, P, and N, so M, P, N is equal to 280 degrees. And then the last arc is M, P, M, N. So that's P, M, and N. That arc creates half a circle, so it's 180 degrees. Now the next question, we're talking about the arc addition postulate. Now an entire circle is 360 degrees. So here in the diagram here to the left, I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Now our entire circle is 360 degrees. So arc AB plus arc BC is going to equal arc A, B, and C. Okay? So we can split up our circle but it's still, they're all going to add up to equal 360 degrees, and they're all going to be different parts. So here it says find the measure of each arc. So find the measure of each arc. The first arc says arc GE. So arc GE, we don't know what that entire arc is, but we know what our angles are. Our angle GRH is 40 and HRE is 80. And remember, if we have our angle, then we have our arc. So arc GH is 40 and arc HE is 80. So we're going to add both of those to get our entire arc, which is GE. So our entire arc of GE is 80 plus 40, and that equals 120 degrees. The second arc is GEF. So now it wants, not only does it want GE, but we're going to also include F in there. So we actually already found what GE was. GE was 120, and then FE is 110. So 120 plus 110 is 230. So arc GEF is 230 degrees. And then last, it wants us to find GF. Now GF is the end of our circle. Remember, our entire circle is 360 degrees. So we found that GH was 40 degrees, HE was 80, and EF was 110. So we add all those together and we got 230. Now we're going to subtract that from 360 to find what GF is equal to. So 360 minus 230 is 130 degrees. So GF is 130 degrees. Now our second question is, it says use circle P to find the value of x, then find the measure of arc AB here. Now if you look at this diagram, AC creates a semicircle, and a semicircle is 180 degrees. So A, B, and C equal 180 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and set that up. So, sorry. So AB is 3x plus 20, and then CB is x. So we're going to take both of these arcs, x plus 3x plus 20 is equal to 180 degrees. We added like terms, so 4x plus 20 is equal to 180. We subtracted 20 from both sides, and we got 4x is equal to 160. I divided by 4, and x is equal to 40. Now it asks us to find the value of x and then find the measure of arc AB. So we're going to plug x back into our equation. So arc AB is equal to 3 times 40 plus 20, so that's 120 plus 20, is equal to 140 degrees. So arc AB is 140 degrees. Now let's look at B. It says, use circle P to find the value of x, then find the measure of arc ADC. So here's arc ADC, and we actually know every single arc on this circle. We know that arc ADC is equal to 6x plus 10. We know that arc AB is equal to 3x plus 40, and we know that arc CB is x. We also know that an entire circle is 360 degrees. So 6x plus 10 plus x, or plus 3x plus 40 plus x is 360 degrees. So I went ahead and I combined like terms. So 6 plus 3 is 9x, plus x is 10x, and then 40 and 10 is 50, and that is equal to 360 degrees. I subtract 50 from both sides. 10x is equal to 310. I divided by 10, and I got x is equal to 31. And it also asks us to find arc ADC. So arc ADC is 6x plus 20. So I plugged 31 into x, and 6 times 31 plus 10 is 196 degrees. So arc ADC is 196 degrees. Okay. And last, C asks us to find the value of x. What is the measure of arc AD? Now, find the value of x. What is the measure of AD? Now, if AB is 45 degrees, that means that DC is also equal to 45 degrees. Okay? So if AB is 45 degrees, then DC is also 45 degrees. And if you notice, arc AC is equal to 180 degrees because it creates a semicircle. So I know that DC is 45 degrees. So I can take 180 and subtract that by 45 degrees, and I get that AD is equal to 135 degrees. Okay, so let's talk about arcs and congruent arcs. So A says arcs with the same measure in the same circle. And congruent arcs are also arcs with the same measure of congruent circles. So let's look at example 4. It says identify congruent arcs. So find the measures of AB. So if this is 60, if our angle is 60 degrees, then our arc is 60 degrees. And these are called vertical angles. So vertical angles mean that those angles are congruent. So if this angle is 60 degrees, then this angle is 60 degrees, which means both of my arcs are the same length. So CD and AB are both 60 degrees. Now, let's use chords. So let's look at our postulate. It says if chords are congruent, then arcs are congruent. So here, the chord AB is congruent to chord BC. That means that arc AB and arc BC are also congruent. So let's go ahead and put that into practice. So example 1 says, find the measure of arc AD. Now, if you look, segment AD is congruent to segment DC. That means their arcs are also congruent. So, the first arc is 3x plus 11, and arc BC is 2x plus 48. So we're going to go ahead and make them congruent to each other. So 3x plus 11 is equal to 2x plus 48. I subtracted 2x from both sides. I got x plus 11 is equal to 48. I subtracted 11 from both sides, and I got x was equal to 37. Now, it asks us to find the measure of arc BC. So I plugged x back in. So 2 times 37 plus 48. 2 times 37 is 74. I added that to 48, and I got 122. Now let's look at the second example. It says find the measure of AD. Now, chord AD is congruent to chord DC, which means their arcs are also congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and make 2x equal to x plus 40. I subtracted x from both sides, and I got x was equal to 40. Then I wanted to find AD, so I plugged x back in. So 2 times 40 is equal to 80 degrees. And last, it says find the measure of arc AD. Now, both chords here are congruent, which means both of my BC and AD are congruent, which means arc AD is congruent to arc BC. So now I do know arc AB and arc CD, and I know that the entire circle is equal to 360. So let's go ahead, since we know they're congruent, we can put an x by AD, and we can also put an x on this side. So when we go to set it up, it's going to be 80 plus 35 plus 2x is equal to 360. I'm going to go ahead and add 80 and 35, and I get 115 plus 2x is equal to 360. I subtract 115 from both sides. 2x is equal to 245. I divide by 2, and my x is equal to 122.5. And last, we're going to look at chords. So the last thing we're going to look at is how do we use chords. So here in example 5a, if you notice, DB is your semicircle, is your diameter. So if you notice, AC is perpendicular to DB, which means that DB cuts AC into two congruent parts. So up here, it asks you, it says that AC is equal to 10, and then it asks you to find AE. So if you notice, AE is half of AC. So if AC is 10, then AE has to equal 5. And then last, it says the measure of arc AC is equal to 120 degrees. So here we go. Arc AC is 120 degrees. So it says find arc AB. So if the entire arc is 120, we're going to go ahead and divide that by half, and we get 60 degrees.